love that. And you could probably teach me a thing or two. My poor
Yeah,
little bonsai back
absolutely.
there is suffering. Okay. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm Sudie Whalen. I'm our PLC Institute coordinator and also one of our facilitators. I have been working on PLC Institute since 2014. That means I have been hanging out with Karen Barroso for 11 years, and it's been a cool ride. So with that, I'm going to have my other co-facilitators introduce themselves, and we'll start with Karen and then go on to Catherine. You're muted, Karen.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here on a Friday afternoon. I'm what you might call a seasoned adult educator. I've been an ESL teacher, an ESL coordinator, a CTE coordinator, professional development coordinator, all within New Haven Adult School and Fremont Adult School in the Bay Area. Also, I have experience in professional development. I've worked with CalPro since its inception, giving workshops, and particularly this workshop. Another thing I've done is I had my own business for 8 years teaching ESL in Silicon Valley. And UC Extension, I did a course in methods and materials for TESOL and workplace ESL. So I come with a lot of stuff and I'm really happy to share it with all of you. So welcome.
And the newest member of our coaching and facilitation team is Miss Catherine Gooch, who's been with us since 2022. Catherine.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're so happy to be here with you. It's great that you're able to participate in this. We hope you get a lot out of it. As you can see, my name is Catherine. I am a full-time lead instructor at Napa Valley Adult Education in the ESL department. So I have a combination of things that I do. I teach, I train new teachers, I create professional development for our department and for school-wide. I coordinate the civics, I write the pacing guides, so I have sort of a mix of teaching and admin, and I just love being a student, and I consider what I do here, even though I'm technically a facilitator and coach, I still feel like I'm a student and I learn from everyone who is involved. And so we hope to have a good time with you this year, or a year and a half, right? Year and a half.
Thank you, Catherine. And I bring up the CTE leg of our team. I was a CTE teacher at Liberty Adult Education Center in Brentwood, California. I currently live in Norfolk, Virginia. I moved in 2021 to be closer to my mom, but California is always and will forever be my adult ed home. And so everything CalPro always warms my heart. And this is actually my favorite of all the things that CalPro does, but that could be because I'm a little biased because I love the PLC Institute. So let's move forward with our agenda. Today, we're going to focus on some welcome introductions. We'll talk about the PLC Institute structure. We'll also introduce you to our coaches. Catherine is one of our coaches, but you also meet our other two coaches who will be working with you throughout the Institute. Then we're going to have some teacher and admin time. We're going to separate out our two administrators from our teachers, and you'll spend some time thinking about the admin area of focus for PLC Institute versus the teacher areas of focus for PLC Institute. And then we'll come back together and then we'll talk about the PLC building blocks, upcoming assignments between now and next month, and then just general logistics stuff, like homework. That's super fun. So let's go ahead and jump in. And I'm going to pass this over to Karen.
Okay, so we're going to do a little welcome and introductions. You kind of met us, so we'd like to meet you. So if you would, if you could give your name, your agency name, what your focus is for the PLC areas, meaning is it ESL, CTE, high school diploma, and what are your reading, what are you reading, watching this week? One item. All righty, so shall we start with Isabel? I see you, so I'll start with you, and then you can pass it to someone else that you see on the screen.
Sure. So my name is Isabel, like it says on my video. I work at San Diego Community College District, and I teach ESL. We work with adults, and I guess what I'm watching this week, it's called, I forget the name. My mom and I are watching this Netflix series together, and we just call it Sestra because one of the characters in there says Sestra instead of sister. Black Orphan, that's what it's called. Yes, Black Orphan. It's
What's it called?
Black Orphan.
Oh, yeah, I've
It's like
watched it.
yeah, it's like a psychological thriller, drama, comedy. It's got a little bit of everything.
That's a
Great.
great one.
All right,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
All right, Isabel, pass it to someone else.
I'll pass it over to Steven.
We'll come back to him because he's a coach. Let's go with
Yeah.
Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Miller. I'm also at the San Diego College of Continuing Education in the ESL department. I'm also assistant program chair there. The focus for this PLC is, at least for me, I think would be curriculum revision. And what am I reading now? I just started reading something called The New Normal in Education, but I don't know if I'm going to finish it.
Okay, who's next? Someone else want to, how about you, Jose?
Yeah, I'll go, Karen.
All
My
right.
name is Jose Castaneda, and I teach at Colton Joint Adult Education, and I teach ESL students. And I am reading Elfie. It's a prequel to Wicked because I like that series. It's a fun read.
All right.
Hey, I have the whole series on my shelf over here. Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister and everything.
Those are the best books.
All right. You might have to have a little book club here. All right. How about Angela? How about sharing, Angela?
Angela Hatter. I don't know if there's another Angela. There's always more than one Angela somewhere. So Angela Hatter, I'm the principal at Colton Joint Unified School District Adult Ed. Been in adult ed for many, many years and really excited about being in this PLC. This is the first CalPro PLC training that I've been able to attend over 30 years. So really happy to be here. I am overseeing several areas, ESL, CTE, high school diploma, GED. So really excited about bringing this into we're a small school, so we're going to be looking at everything. I just finished watching 10 episodes of Doc Martin. From the very beginning. I hadn't seen the whole thing, so that was fun. And I haven't decided what my next Netflix series will be, but looking forward to the Hallmark the Hallmark series coming up with the holidays.
All right. And Eileen.
Okay, hello. My name is Eileen Garza. I'm also with Colton Joint Adult Ed. I'm an area of ESL. I teach ESL for adult ed. And I just finished reading a book. It's called Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. And I'm actually going to a book club tonight for it.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was up at 4 o'clock this morning finishing reading that book.
Oh, wow. All right. Alfredo.
Hello, my name is Alfredo Lopez Chaparro. I work at the San Diego College of Continuing Education and the ESL department too. And well, something that I'm watching that I haven't finished is the Extraordinary Attorney Woo. It's a Korean series, and I'm kind of learning some things about about autism aspects, and it's helping me to realize something that I didn't notice before.
All
Yes.
right.
Thank you.
And I believe our last person, if I haven't, is Yvonne.
Hi, everybody. My name is Yvonne Aguila, and I also represent San Diego College of Continuing Education, ESL adult students. And then the focus will be, learning is the first time attending this. It's all new to me. And things that I'm watching now, usually I watch YouTube channels when I have time and watch the news. They have something they call Democracy Now!
All right. All right. So,
Did we
You
get
know-
Belen?
pardon?
Belen?
Did I miss someone?
Yes, you did.
Oh, sorry. Please chime in.
Sure. My
Billy?
name is
Oh,
Belen
sorry about
Rubio.
that.
I'm part of Colton Joint Unified School District's Adult Education program as well.
I have two titles. I'm a counselor as well as an ESL teacher. I teach in the evenings, and I think for the focus area, I know Angela says we cover a lot of different programs, but I think student persistence is the big one for us. They do come back. I mean, a lot of our repeats are comebacks, but for some reason they just sometimes don't stay the race all the way to the end of the race. So I think that's a big one.
All right. All right. Now I think I captured everyone. You know, for watching, if you haven't watched the Cleopatra documentary, Discovering Cleopatra, I think it is. It's really amazing. So just a
Oh,
little.
and I forgot to put, sorry, it's me again.
All right.
But I'm watching, I like to watch Hulu right now, and I'm watching the National Geographic series on our presidents. So I just finished Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. I like history. And as a side note for, I guess, comedy, I like to watch Abbott Elementary because I was an elementary teacher at one time.
All right.
So for me, that's kind of like a funny haha time for me.
Okie doke. All right. Anyone else? All righty. So thank you so much for sharing. It gives a little bit of an idea for us, the presenters and the coaches of who you are. So it'll be exciting to find out more about you and especially what you perceive as your PLC, which we'll do later on and talk about your responsibilities. All right. So Sudi, I think you still have slide control.
You should have it.
Yeah, it says control Sudi Whalen sides.
Yeah, you're controlling my slides.
I know, but it wouldn't let me do it. Maybe I need to double click, but thank you for changing it for me. So as we look at the PLCs, and some of you have said this is the first time you've had training, are there any burning questions about PLCs on your or the Institute on your mind, whether it be a PLC, the process, or the Institute? Does anyone have any questions?
I'm just wondering, I've been around for a while, but I don't remember exactly when the Institute started. So that I was just curious about how long our folks been doing that.
Well, you know, I retired in 2007, and my principal said, you know, we've done this K-12. Can you adapt it for adult ed? So that was in 2007. I adapted it for my school in 2008 and then presented it to CalPro in 2009 and started facilitating that with Jacques Lacour. And since then, there's been many revisions. Other facilitators have joined it. So for CalPro 2009. Anyone else? I'm sure as we move along, you'll be having questions. If you do, please jot them down. By the end of the session, perhaps we'll have a minute or two to answer them. Okay, so what are the goals of the PLC Institute? And it's to provide the agencies, you two agencies, the framework and the training needed to develop and sustain, not only develop, but sustain a collaborative process of school improvement, focusing on student learning outcomes. So everything is the focus on student learning and, of course, teacher learning. Okay, so by the end of this institute, we hope to support and guide and give you support and guidance from your coaches. So the participants will create a sustainable PLC implementation plan on the building blocks of professional learning communities, and you will be provided the building blocks. Identify the knowledge and the skills needed at your agency to begin the professional learning process. Develop a collaborative culture where collaborative teams work interdependently to achieve a common goal, just not a group. And with those three, you're going to have valued embedded professional development that fosters ongoing process of collective inquiry to better achieve results for the students you serve. So that collective inquiry will always be there, it never changes. And the process moves on. And a PLC does not stop. It is your way of continuous improvement. Okay, so what is the structure of the Institute? I believe this is Sudi.
Indeed. So we are today at our kickoff and orientation. In November, we'll meet for 2 virtual days together. Don't worry, we're going to give you lots of breaks so you're not stuck staring at your computer for 6 hours because that's painful, and you'll have a full 1-hour lunch. But we're going to have that session in November. We'll have a webinar in January and March, and then come May, we'll have our last 2 sessions together. In between time, you'll also be meeting with your coaches, and then you'll have your coaching for 1 year after. And Catherine's going to talk a lot more about that in a moment. I do want to touch on our time commitment, though. The training is approximately 50 hours or more. You have 1.5-hour orientation today, 24 hours of training. Then you've got 6 hours of the 24 hours of the hybrid or asynchronous training where you might be meeting with your coach, you might be meeting with your team to work on assignments together, or doing some activities and discussions independently. Plus you have the additional 6 hours of virtual only training, plus the interim homework assignments. And then you also have your coaching hours. So between our time together here, our webinars, your homework assignments, your teamwork, and then meeting with your coach, you're going to spend about 50 hours, and that will be on your certificate in case you want confirmation of that, of training time. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Catherine to talk more about the coaching process.
So you already know a little bit about me and about Karen. The only thing I will add is that I do lead the ESL PLC at my school, and I try to help ABE and CT however I can. So we're going to take a minute and let you meet our 2 other coaches who are here. Karen will be coaching with James, and I will be coaching with Stephen. James, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm James Hayes, a CalPro PLC coach for at least the past 5 or 6 years, but maybe longer. I've enjoyed every minute of it too, not just because of working with Sudi and this wonderful team here, but because I believe PLCs really do matter in student success. I'm based down in San Diego, but help adult education providers, through the entire state of California. And like Catherine said, I have the pleasure of partnering with Karen. And you definitely can count on us to answer questions and support your team throughout the entire PLC implementation process. So looking forward to working with you. And I'm also, like Belen, I am watching Abbott Elementary because it's on season 5, episode 2, just came out. So I'm watching that. And for my autobiography or biography, mine would be, what hat am I wearing today? There you go. I'm good.
Like Mr. Potato Head, right? Except it's a different head, not just different eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. And let's pass it over to my co-coach, Stephen.
Good afternoon, everybody. Stephen Casbright. You may have met me before if you've taken other CalPro classes. I like to call myself the CalPro DJ. I went through the PLC training program many years ago, a leadership program. I was the poster child for CalPro for a little while until they replaced me with James. But currently, and for the last many years, I am the principal at the Placer School for Adults, and I am the consortium lead for the Sierra Joint Consortium. We cover all of Placer County, which butts up to Nevada, state of Nevada, and also all of Placer and Nevada County, which covers mostly the Eastern Sierras. I am in my 38th year as a teacher, instructor. I'm currently finishing a PhD in consciousness studies, and it's really based in my work with what I call wounded and struggling learners and suffering and its role in developing consciousness. And I love the PLC Institute. I think that the 2 core things that live at the heart of the culture of the school. You can tell right away where they're at is what kind of professional learning is going on collaboratively, and what type of and I'm using acronyms, so MTSS or multi-tiered systems of support are in place. If you've put those at the bedrock of what you're doing as an adult school, then you're beginning to look at the deep picture of what about 70 to 80% of our students, wounded learners, are coming in with, and what supports you've put in place, and what kind of professional development you have for your teachers to meet those needs. So I'm a veteran, very dedicated to this process, and look forward to supporting and working with you. My biography would be life is truly a wave, so become a particle and learn to surf. So a little physics in there and a little bit of a few other things in there, but I do surf. Yes, I am an old guy out there in the waves, and I do surf when I get the opportunity. And my wife looks forward to the opportunities to get rid of me to go surfing, because she says, "Oh, I get a break from you finally." There you have it.
Thank you, Stephen. So what are all of your coaches here for? We're here to support you, to help you with your assignments. You'll get more information about that in Moodle. We are here to help you problem solve. That's one of the things I would say that most of us, maybe all of us, enjoy. It's just really working through your struggles, finding creative solutions for them as you implement this PLC culture. We can respond to requests for support and resources as appropriate. And we are here to help you support your SMART goal achievement. So that's one of the first things that you'll do together. And we're here to help you coach towards sustainability, understanding that this is a culture shift, and we want you to be able to take what you're learning and share it with your colleagues as you are participating in this institute. As far as coaching expectations, that will be a 1 meeting per month with your participants who are here, as well as administrators, and those people together make up your guiding coalition, which you'll hear more about later. So we will meet through Zoom, and we do as good a job as we can trying to coordinate so that everyone is able to attend. And at those meetings, everyone there needs to be prepared to just share what's happening, be transparent about it. What are the challenges? What's working? Sharing the knowledge that we have with each other. Our teams can help each other. Our coaches help with those teams. And then aside from those once a month meetings with your coaches on Zoom, you will be expected to meet as a PLC team at your institution. Could be in person, could be Zoom, at least once a month there. But you can always email your coaches with any questions or challenges. We doing okay with time, Sudi? All right. So we have a few minutes here just to have a chat with your coaches, thinking about what is your motivation for participating in the Institute and what expectations you may have about it. And additionally, what are your hopes and fears regarding PLC implementation at your school site? And are we doing this as a whole group, or do we have time for the breakout rooms, Sudi?
No, this is the whole group discussion.
Okay. So if you would like to start, you can put your comments in chat, and then as those come in, we can look through them and chat about them.
And I'll just add, no answer is wrong, and we
Right.
specialize in working with wounded PLC learners who have been in PLCs that weren't so functional. We specialize in bringing you back to the value of PLC.
Yes.
That's why he's the Radio CalPro DJ. We have about 5 minutes for this chat, so if you'd like to unmute and share, you're more than welcome to.
I'll unmute because I think it'll be faster than putting my thoughts into the chat box.
Thank you.
We have a great, our teachers are very willing to collaborate. So I don't doubt, and we do on a regular basis. So my hopes is that we can learn more about like what a model framework would be to make sure that the time that we spend is we're using the most out of the time to get the best results, because all of our teachers are part-time, and so we don't have 8 hours in a day or 6 hours in a day to really, mull over issues and work with them. So we need to be very strategic with the time. And so I'm hoping to take away from this models that schools who have part-time staff can really dive in and make the most of that time and get the best results for our teams.
Yes, that's one of the biggest challenges with PLCs in adult ed, is because the majority of our teachers are part-time, and that part-time doesn't even mean 20 hours. It could mean 6, right? So your coaches have great experience with that. They'll be able to assist you with that. Thank you for sharing.
And Catherine, that's actually one of the activities they do, is working on making time for PLC work with their coach. And then we also have a segment that Catherine will do with us later in this training on that too. So really great that you brought that up.
Would anyone else like to unmute and share?
You have 2 comments in the chat also, Catherine. Jose said, learning how to effectively provide support for marginalized populations we serve. Eileen said, my motivation for participation is learning creative ways to engage PLC structures in our unique situation. And that's it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And if more thoughts come up and you would like feedback, you can, of course, contact your coaches. So who are your coaches? If you are from Colton Joint Adult Education, you're going to be working with Karen and James. And our San Diego Continuing Education team will be working with me and with Stephen.
Okay, so what are you in for? What is this process we're looking at? And what's the purpose of all of this? Do you know that I think this is the best work of any school can do? It's messy, but it focuses on why we are an adult school. It focuses on student learning, not on teaching, not on business of the school, but actually student learning. That's why I really believe in this process. So first of all, we need to focus on, these are our critical learning questions. What is it we want students to learn? Have you actually identified those in all your programs? Second, how will we know when each student has learned it? And within that, how will we teach it and how will we assess it? So you can see those 2 questions really help in collaboration. In fact, all of these questions will help teachers collaborate and decide on what they want to learn. How will we know when you teach it, when each student has learned it? And then how will we respond as a school, as a teacher, when a student has difficulty learning it? And the last is, how will we respond when a student has already learned it? So these critical questions really drive your professional learning community. All right, so I did say the cycle of inquiry really is your motor, huh? If you see in the middle of all of this, what do collaborative teams do? Collaboratives in PLC teams share lesson plans, best practices across units, courses, and levels. So they are in there to talk about student learning. And a lot of PD goes into those meetings, the PLC team meetings. So this cycle of inquiry is what you're doing all the time. You plan, what is it we want all students to know? Okay, then you teach it using research-based instructional practices. You use agreed upon practices, and you share best practices. Then you assess. How will we know students have learned it? Through, what's the word I'm looking for? I have something in the way here. Through, in lesson plans, you check for understanding. You have classroom formative assessments. And then we'll talk about common formative assessments and then how to analyze that data of common formative assessments. And then the big payoff is you're going to reflect on this. How will we respond when students don't know? How will we respond when students already know this information? So this cycle of inquiry is happening all the time, and the team addresses this at every meeting. Okay. So the next is, what are the 3 big ideas of a professional learning community? What are we thinking of? And so first of all, it's focused on learning. It's focused on student learning, and it's focused on teacher learning, because this is a new process. So it isn't, we assume teachers can learn this. We have to actually intentionally teach. Focus on collaboration. We're used to getting together, but is that used to getting together a collaboration, or is it group meetings where we talk about business or some school activity? And the last one, focus on results. What did we want students to learn? How do you know? What is the evidence? Is the evidence teachers say, yeah, I know they learned it, so they're moving from one level to a next, or to one program to a next? Or do you have concrete evidence that students are learning? So we will tackle all of these big ideas and break them down. Okay, so the PLC journey, as you look at this, you can see that it's systematic, it's professional. Every teacher is a learner. Every learner is a teacher. Every teacher is a leader. Every leader is a teacher. It's a journey that never ends. You begin this journey, and hopefully with our coaching and with the Institute, you'll be able to sustain this journey. Very learner-centered. Student and teachers and admins are all learning together. And it's embedded professional development. It isn't something where you have to come and have someone come and bring a workshop. It's really embedded, because you have so many teachers who have so much to offer that they can also be part of your professional development. And I have found at my school, at New Haven Adult School in Union City, more changes happened with teachers because of professional learning communities than a workshop they attend, make change for maybe a week or 2, and then shelf it. So this process and this characteristic, I think you will really see a big difference in your school. Okay, so I just said this, the process. So a PLC is a systematic process. It's the whole school. It isn't something you go to. It is. You are a learning community. And it's learner-centered, it's embedded professional development, it's sharing best practices, it's continuous improvement, and a big one, which might be different for whatever school, there's a big culture shift. Not focusing on teaching, but focusing on learning. And you will actually take a survey and see where you are in a school as the culture shifts. And remember, it's not just a meeting. It isn't department meeting focused on random sharing. It has agendas, it has outcomes, it has evidence. It's not a one-off training event, piecemeal PD, or a menu of a PD options. It really is focused on PD for student learning. And a removal of educator autonomy? No. There's certain things that are tight, comes from admin and your guiding coalition. And then there's things that are very loose. And that comes from the teachers have great autonomy in teaching lessons, making assessments and things like that, that they are experts at. And completed after one cycle? No way. It's forever. Continually improving. I cannot believe in our school since 2009 how we have improved, how we've gone backwards, how we've improved, how we've gone backwards, how we've improved, but it's never ending cycle. And it is not business as usual. All righty. So, the role of the guiding coalition. Okay, so this is a group of staff who lead the work of the PLC process. Okay, it includes formal leaders and administrators, influential teacher leaders, could be coordinators, program managers. You as a school will decide who is on your guiding coalition. It builds shared knowledge, vision, and commitment through the organization. It also models collaboration and collective responsibility. So you are the model for your teacher teams. And it helps remove barriers and ensure alignment with core PLC principles. And serves as the driving force to sustain and monitor progress. So this guiding coalition is really important in your school, and it's a sustaining factor. So you are part of the guiding coalition. The team that will lead and bring on other key players to be this guiding coalition. So we'll talk more about what the guiding coalition is and the actual outcomes. So let's take a look at the next slide. And you'll see that very similar to the critical questions for teachers, what do we want students to learn? How do we know they learned it? What do we do if they don't? What if they do if they do know it? The same thing with the guiding coalition. What do we want our staff to learn about this PLC process? How do we know when our staff has learned this? How will we respond when our staff is not learning? And remember, you're the guiding coalition, and what happens if everything falls apart with your teams? So how will you respond when your staff is not learning? How will you respond when your staff is learning? How will you move to the next thing? So these are, as you see, we're both learning. The students are learning, and teachers are learning, and admins are learning. We're all in this ball game because what is the name of this? Professional learning communities. Okay, so I will pass this on to, I believe, Sudi, and she will talk about teacher and admin time.
Thanks, Karen. And I also want to mention that the concept of the guiding coalition is addressed in one of the books you'll be receiving, and I'll talk to you more about what you're going to be receiving. But in case you were curious, Learning by Doing, one of the books you'll receive, does talk about the guiding coalition. I think it's on page 27, I want to say. But you'll see all of that and all the goodies you get. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but I just wanted to raise that. So we're going to have some teacher and admin time. Part of the reason we're going to do this is because one of the concepts Karen just introduced, which is loose and tight. PLCs have to be simultaneously loose and tight. That means they're tight enough to be in alignment with, the overall arching goals and mission of the school. If the school has decided to focus on specific literacy standards, the PLCs are in alignment with that. So whatever the school initiatives and goals are, our PLCs are alignment with how that's happening. But they're loose enough that teachers have that autonomy that Karen just talked about, that teachers are actively collaborating on lessons. They're able to triage and make adjustments to lesson planning, to assessments, etc., as needed based on the needs of the students, because it's all focused on student learning and student outcomes. So what we're going to do in a minute is spend some time together. We're going to separate out our two administrators, Eric and Angela. You get to go to your own group, and our teachers will go to their own group, and we'll spend some time with the coaches. just talking about what the areas of responsibility are for administrators versus for teachers. Then we're going to come back together and talk about that so we all have shared understanding. I also want to mention that this is really important in the concept of your guiding coalition, because as you noticed on your applications, your administrators, of course, support and oversee the implementation, but your PLC participants here that are teachers are also going to be your PLC coordinators at your site and part of that guiding coalition. So it's important for us to understand what it is that's expected of us as participants in a PLC process. And your coaches will be engaging with you in your first meeting together to talk more about who's going to be part of your guiding coalition, who do we need to include, etc. But the first step to that is really understanding, what do we do as administrators and teachers in this process? So with that, we're going to open up a breakout room. You're going to stay in your breakout group. You know what? We're actually doing amazingly well on time for maybe the first time ever. You have 3 very chatty facilitators that like to talk and explain. So the fact that we are doing so well on time is fabulous. So Maria, let's give us 20 minutes for this discussion in our breakout groups. So when you get into your breakout group, your one of the coaches will share a slide on the screen for you. On that slide for the administrators, you'll see a list of responsibilities that you'll discuss. For teachers, you'll see a list of responsibilities that you will discuss. So one person in the room will have the slides up on the screen for you, okay? All right, so Maria's going to open up the breakout room. If you are Eric and Angela, go ahead and click the administrator group. And if for the rest of us, let's go ahead and click the teachers group. Maria?
Excellent. Thank you, Sudie. So I'm going to open all the rooms. Everyone should be able to self-select.
From the looks of those microphone icons, you guys are having really good dialogue, like from start to finish. There's talking going the whole time.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're going to do a quick debrief. And so we have 2 questions. So from the administrator group, either, well, we only have 2 of you, Angela or Eric, how would you describe the overarching responsibility of an administrator in a guiding coalition for your PLCs? Either one of you. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I think from what I gathered from that list is to provide kind of an overarching perspective with a view of how will this project fit in and work towards the school or program as a whole. And I'm kind of curious what's happening in the other rooms, just because I kind of I'm not sure what the difference would, or what the administrator's responsibility is until I can see what the other responsibilities are. I mean, to distinguish it.
Thank you.
But they involve things like, I mean, we talked, in our particular case, we talked about the change of culture, and then we talked about for Colton, like just kind of like resources, like personal resources of the and how, so how I expect in Colton's case it's going to be really challenging just because of all the different instructors all being part-time and coming from very different experiences. Whereas for us, we're a larger program. We do have some full-time instructors, but we still are facing, like a long-term, like how are we going to get people to see why we're doing this? And I would like to know how much, I mean, how much of that is part of the whole group. I imagine it is.
Really good thoughts. Thank you, Eric. Angela, do you want to add anything to what Eric said?
I think just, it is true, we have different types of institutions, and helping to guide the process and making sure that the teachers who are participating have what they need, have the time, have the paid time or time off coverage. So all of those things I think are really important. and the guidance, because we talked briefly at the end about the SMART goals, and I'm really intrigued about that process because we want to do it all, and we don't always have time to focus on everything at once, although, you know, it's a short year. This year is already almost halfway through. And, you know, it's all important when you have students who have goals and we need to help them achieve those goals. So I'm interested in this process to help us in the institution we have with the challenges of not having any full-time staff, you know, teachers, how we get to the finish line and make sure we cover all the bases.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think you're both kind of hitting it on the head. The administrator's role in the PLC process is to provide, to be the guidepost. Where are we going toward as a school? It's to provide support, it's to provide resources, but it's also to think through how will we make sure teachers can have the time to do this, that they can adequately apply what they're doing within their PLCs and reflect on those things. So I think you guys are hitting that just right. All right, and so
if I could add, in this process, the principal then becomes part of the instructional leadership team. That's what we call our coalition, the instructional leadership team. So you're not only in charge of business as always, but you're also in charge of instruction. And so this rolls out as that guiding coalition. It's kind of like teachers are involved, maybe program managers, and then the administrators. So everybody's in the know. It isn't that, oh, we have the resources, we have the time, and the principal says, great, now go ahead. But you are actually a part of developing this coalition. You are actually a part of identifying time, identifying goals, identifying all the parts in the process of a PLC.
Thank you for raising that, Karen. One of the things Dr. Sharice Moore, who leads CalPro's Leadership Institute, talks about is the importance of administrator as an instructional leader, and remembering that it's not just about the day-to-day activities, but it's also about what's happening in those classrooms and being aware of what's happening in the classroom, not micromanaging what's happening in the classrooms, but supporting and having awareness and leading what's happening there. So teachers, what did you find, or how would you describe the overarching responsibility of PLC coordinators and facilitators in the teacher role? What do you think? Go ahead, Jose.
I think the biggest thing for teachers, our role is to be the, I guess, models, and to start the culture change by leading by example. So, and also putting student learning at the center of all of the decisions we make together as a team, and really carrying out admin's mission so that we can create that change in our schools.
Awesome, Jose, and you got a clap from Isabel on your answer. But that was very well done. And we will be sharing the recording of this session along with the slides. So if you, as a team, especially with your coach, want to go back and look at those two administrator and then coordinator facilitator slides, so you can compare, contrast, and look at the different areas of responsibility, then you can most definitely do that. All right, so I'm going to pass it to Catherine to go over our PLC building blocks before I wrap us up.
I'm sorry, before you all
I have to
start,
give you guys slide control again because you went to the breakouts. 1 second. There we go.
Sudi, while you're doing
Go
that,
ahead.
really quickly, did you say, I know we're going to get the recording, but are we also going to get the slides?
Yeah, I share
Okay.
copies of all the slides from all the sessions. One of the things I haven't mentioned yet, but I was going to later, is that we do this on purpose so that if you want to take back any of this information and share it with others that are part of your team or will be part of your guiding coalition, that way you have those materials to do so.
Perfect.
It's one of the few trainings in CalPro that we are allowed to do that.
Nice. Thank you.
So you heard about a little bit about roles of this guiding coalition, administrators, teachers. You're going to be the leaders at your school. As you are going through this institute, you're going to start implementing these things. So we're going to take just a few minutes here to look through the 7 building blocks. And this is one of the first things that you will do with your team. is look through this document that is available for you on Moodle. And this is your continuum, this pathway to sustainability continuum. So we're going to go through these 7 here just really briefly in a couple minutes. The first one here is shared mission, vision, values, and goals. So as far as our mission, is it evident that student learning is really our core value, right? That's what a PLC is. It's not about policing teachers. It's about looking at student learning. Our vision, do we know what we're trying to create? Our values, how do we need to behave? How do we need to act? And then goals, what are the priorities here? Remembering that this is about student learning. And these collaborative teams that will be working together, they need to be focused on these issues that impact student learning, right? That's always the focus, as Jose mentioned. So when we have these teams, what are we doing here? Do we know what our students need to learn? That's where knowledge of standards come in. Are they present in our curriculum? Are they present in our classes? And how can we then take a focus area of a standard and create common formative assessments that will help us see proof and see evidence that our students are then able to execute these things? And this idea that we see here in number 3 of our distributive leadership, we talked a little bit about this in our administrator breakout group. And, just thinking about how are the leaders within the PLC community and the teachers, how are they, how do they influence instructional practice with, as has been pointed out, that administrator being the instructional leader. We also think about this idea of collective inquiry and being comfortable with recognizing when, someone has knowledge that I don't have and just sharing that among the group. We think about number 5 here as far as being action oriented, developing, if we see an area that needs help, then let's develop some professional development content that would help our teachers in that area. And we think about number 6, as far as the analysis of learning gains. How do we then take, a CFA and use it to monitor student progress and the data that we're collecting? What do we then do with it? It's this cycle of, planning, teaching, assessing, and then adjusting. And then number 7 here, the last one, results oriented, and just thinking about that commitment to continuous improvement. We review the data. We look at, do we need to change anything here in order to improve that learning for students? I did that in 3 minutes, Sudi.
I'm so impressed by you guys.
Very good.
But this will make more sense when you look through that document. I recommend that you print it. It's just way easier for me as a student to have a piece of paper in front of me. And so that's one of the first meetings that you'll have with your guiding coalition, is looking at that continuum document.
That is a great segue into assignments, because that is also one of the first activities you will do. So the PLC Pathway to Continuum is the document that contains the PLC building blocks. These building blocks you will see are also represented in one of the books you'll receive, Learning by Doing, and all of that great stuff. So you'll find that there's a lot of parallel between the solution tree PLC work of DeFore, Matos, many, and so many more. And so all of our information is definitely research-based and well-informed. And so the first activity is for you to review the PLC Pathway to Sustainability Continuum. On the handout itself, there are 3 columns. Where are we? Where do we need to go? And how do we get there? You don't have to address the where do we need to go and how do we get there just yet. But what you're asking you to focus on for this first activity is, where do you feel like you are on the continuum across all of these areas? We recommend you do these individually and then take it back and discuss it with your team, so that you're not solely relying on groupthink, but so that you can get everybody's unique perspectives and see, are we all feeling the same way about all this? And you'll notice in some of the different Moodle activities that you do, you'll have specific instructions that say either do it together or do it individually and come back together with your group. Also, like Karen mentioned earlier, there's the Culture Shift Survey, which is to figure out where are you as a collaborative group right now moving into the PLC process. You might find you're further along than you think you are, or you might find you're not as far along as you think you are. There's no wrong answers. This is a process that's 18 months. One thing that Karen says a lot, but that probably should not say today, and it's probably because I lectured us about being on time, is Karen always tells us it's a crawl. It's not a race. It's not a run. It's something you do slowly to build up over time before you hit your stride with PLCs. So give yourself time to learn. Don't feel bad if you're like, I feel like we should be way further than this. You're in the institute because you're wanting to learn. So if you're at pre-initiation stages on some things and you're a little bit further along on others, that's totally okay. In Culture Shift, if you're seeing some things that you do really well in other areas of growth, that is okay. The other thing you're going to have is a data discussion, which is around how do you currently use data to inform your instructional planning and process? Have a discussion with that amongst others within the group. There's also an article for you to read called A New Way of Thinking, which is really just about thinking collectively and collaboratively now that you're in a professional learning community. And the last activity is optional. If you're not familiar with the College of Career Readiness Standards or the English Language Proficiency Standards, there is a scavenger hunt for you to do to learn about those two items, because we will be leaning into those standards coming into November. Now, I do want to mention we used to have this as a required activity, but since standards have been out for quite a while, people are more oriented to them now. So if you're familiar with them, you don't need to do this activity. But if you've heard me say CCRS and ELPS and you don't know what I'm talking about, that optional activity is there just for you. All right. And I'm talking about College of Career Readiness Standards and English Language Proficiency Standards. All right, so these are the assignments that are due. The continuum, you need to post your continuum and respond to at least one colleague. The Culture Shift, you don't need to turn it in. You're just going to talk about it with your coach when you meet. The data discussion, just post one discussion and one reply. New Way of Thinking, just read the article. That's all you have to do. When you click into it, it'll check off by itself. And the scavenger hunt does not have a completion requirement because it is optional. All right, so really quickly, I want to do a poll, and this is going to be what the basis of some grouping activities that we do in November. So it's really important that you respond. You only get to pick one, so you have to pick a group. For our administrators, we already know what group you're in, so you don't have to do this poll. But for our teachers, I need to know if you're ESL, ABE, HSE, and CTE. I think all of us are ESL, but I just want to confirm so that we know we're grouping you appropriately. So please do respond to the poll. I should have all but two of you. Oh, you guys are awesome. That's the fastest the poll has ever. This is the most efficient PLC Institute ever, and I just don't know what to do with myself. All right. So all of us are 100% ESL that are teachers, and then we have our administrator group. Maria, I think they just made our breakout groups super easy. All right. So recapping on our agenda, we did our welcome and introductions. We talked about PLC Institute structure, coaching, process, and purpose. We had some teacher and admin time. Catherine gave us a brief orientation to the building blocks that you'll spend more time with. We went over your assignments and talked a little bit about logistics. So I think we can check off all those boxes. Going back to our calendar activities, our next time together will be virtual session 1 on November 6th at 8 a.m. Again, you will have plenty of breaks, and we will give you 1 full hour for lunch so you can get away from your device, blink your eyes, and not have a massive headache by the end of the day. All right, any questions? All right, well, on the slide also, go
I
ahead.
would just like to state that you'll be contacted by your coaches during this time before November 6th to see how you're doing on your assignments and things. So for me, I know James will be contacting you to set up a date for our first meeting as a coach.
Yes, what she said. So our coaching team will be reaching out to you to schedule your first meeting. And then your coaches will typically have 1 meeting with you a month, and then also 1 follow-up email just to check in and see how you're doing. Yvonne, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question. So when we go to the module and then we submit it as a group, or I know you say one is individual and then we discuss, but are the assignments like
No, you will submit your activity individually, and that's
Okay.
because we do want to see that each individual was involved in doing the activities when there are submissions. Now, there are some, and it will indicate that and I'll make sure to explain that to you. For this first batch of homework assignments, there's nothing that is group based. Everything is individual based, or you don't have to submit anything at all. There are some activities later on that you will have one per team, and that's set up that way. And I'll clarify that when we get to those activities as well. And they're also listed in Moodle that way. But very good question. Thank you for asking.
Okay, and then I have one more, but I
Okay.
don't know if it's the moment, but let's see, we don't have the full support from school. What we could do.
Well, that's a very kind of vague and loaded question. It really depends on the type of support you need and what exactly the issue is. And I'm not going to make you air that all right now, but that is a perfect question to frame and share a little bit more detail with your coach, and your coach can walk you through that. One of the big things that coaches help our teams navigate through is building that cohesive team, responding to resistance, developing buy-in, those type of things. And so our coaches will help you with wading through those waters as if you're having any resistance or any difficulty with getting support and moving things forward. Go ahead, Catherine. I saw you on
Yeah,
mute.
I would say that's
Thank
a
you.
great question, Yvonne. We're happy to help you with that. And really, everyone here who is going to participate in this process, I think it's also really helpful going into it to understand that you are going to have to really call upon your people skills and your skills as finessers of different personalities and different issues that you come across, and just approaching it with as calm and as a peacemaker, because you are going to be working with so many different teachers who bring different experiences to it. So knowing that going in can be helpful.
Yeah, it's definitely an exercise in diplomacy. I think Catherine's exactly right. And so it's fun, and it's engaging, and it's important work, and it's great work. But there are going to be some bumps in the road, right? And so that's why it's great that you have your coaches throughout the training and for a year after. So if you hit any of those bumps, if you have any challenges, they can help you work through that. One of the things we've done in the past is if we were having some difficulty with getting buy-in from an approving authority that needs to give you the release time, then I personally, as a coordinator, will meet with that person to talk about what is the problem, how can we help, what is the purpose, and help you with that. So, and coaches are really great about letting me know if there is like some issue that they're like, I think it would be great if you talk to someone higher up within the organization, and then pulling me in when needed. Otherwise, I try to stay out of the business and just lurk from the sidelines and keep an eye on what's going on. But they're fantastic people. And I'm going to post these slides into Moodle in just a minute. So you'll have all the coaches' email addresses, and they were also included in your notice of acceptance email. So that it was listed there for you too. And I just want to go back to this slide really quick, just to remind you who your coaches are. Please don't get dizzy and throw up on your desk. My apologies. Here it is. So Colton, you're with Karen and James. In San Diego, you're with Stephen and Catherine. I know you heard James say he lives in San Diego, and you might have been like, oh, he'll be our coach. No, because he's worked with San Diego before, and that would be a conflict of interest. So sorry you don't get James. So thank you all so much for being here today, for making the time. We were really excited about moving the Institute, continuing with this particular cohort of folks. We are a small but mighty group, and you are in great hands with these fantastic coaches. So it's good seeing your faces on this Friday. Not gonna lie, I'm in a much better mood than I was before this session started. So have a beautiful weekend, a great rest of your day, and do reach out if you have any questions between now and when we see you in November. Keep an eye out for that email from your coach. And if you don't get anything within the next week, then let me know. It might have possibly gone to your spam. All right. Everybody have a great rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.